Hello everybody, here's an example. We're going to be looking at a coplanar force system, and we are going to be using our equilibrium equations to find tensions in cables BA and BC to support the 60 kilogram cylinder as shown on the figure on the page here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my approach, and my approach, if you remember from the lecture, first thing you want to do is you want to draw your free body diagram. And just like I said just before, we're going to be using our equilibrium equations to solve for each of our tensions in each cable. So when I look at my solution here, the first thing I'm going to do is draw my free body diagrams. So I have my cylinder, and I have tension in BD, and I have the weight. So weight is equal to the tension in BD, so my weight here is 60 kilograms times 9.81 meters per second squared, which comes out to be 588.6 newtons. So this then is going to be 588.6 newtons. All I'm saying here then is if I sum my forces in the y is equal to 0, I could say that negative 588.6 newtons plus tension of BD is equal to 0. Tension of BD is equal to 588.6 newtons. And since we knew that these were just opposite and equal, I could just say that this was 588.6 newtons because we assume that, we know that. My other free body diagram is going to look like this. Redraw that. And I know that they gave me this was 4, this was 3, so we know that this is 5. And then we also know that this is 45 degrees. And we know that tension BD is 588.6 newtons. Now why do I have it going down? Well, because it's opposite and equal again. So this is be opposite and equal. We also know that the weight would be hanging down here. So it's the same, TBD and the weight. Good, so now I've done my free body diagrams. Now I'm going to use my equilibrium equations. So I'm going to sum my forces. Let's do the x first. And I'm going to say that going to the right is positive. So if I sum my forces in the x going to 0, I'm going to have tension of BC times the cosine 45 degrees minus tension of A. And when I do tension of A in the x, I should call that we'll call that BA. We're going to say that this is 4 over 5. We could also say that if we wanted to calculate, saying this is theta, we could say that theta is, that's going to be the arctangent of 3 over 4, which is 36.9 degrees. So if you're an angle person, you could use this and say this will be the cosine of 36.9. Either one of those works, it comes out to be the same exact answer. And that's going to equal 0 since there's no other forces in the x. All I'm looking at is TBC and TBA here. So I'm looking at those two. If I sum my forces in the y, I get that TC BC is sine of 45 degrees plus tension of BA times 3 over 5, or sine of 36.9. And then I'm going to say minus 588.69 newtons. So I'm taking this into account because it's also in my y-axis. So if I came back and drew an axis here, this would be my x, and this would be my y, so this would be in the negative y and that's all going to be equal to 0. So if I were to write this out, my force in the x, I would get 0.707 TBC minus 0.7997 TAB is equal, or we could say TBA is equal to 0. And then my second equation, my forces in the y, would be 0.707 TBC plus 0.6004 TBA is equal, now if I take this to the other side, I add it over here, I get 588.6 newtons. Now you could use elimination, you could use substitution to solve for TBC and TBA. Remember back in high school algebra, you guys did something that looked like this. And you could use the process of elimination and the process of substitution to use this. You could also use a matrix. And if we wrote out our matrix here, notice I'm just taking my coefficients. And this would be a 2 by 2 matrix, and this would be A and this would be B. And if you really think about this, this side here is TBC, and this side here is TBA. So knowing that, solving for a matrix, and you plug it into your calculator, you take the inverse of A and you multiply it by B, and your calculator should come up with two answers. One would be X, one would be Y. In this case, we're saying that this is X and this is Y. So after plugging it in my calculator, I come up with 475.5 newtons and 420.3 newtons. So I'm not going to go through the process of elimination or substitution unless somebody throws in the discussion board that they want me to go through a problem like that. I can also find some online for you, or you can find some on yourself, or just learn how to use your calculator to solve by a matrix. We're going to be going into 3D problems, and you're going to have a 3 by 3 matrix, and those are really hard to solve. Not hard, but they're just long and tedious to solve using elimination and substitution. So Google your calculator and learn how to do solving 3 equations, 3 unknowns, 2 equations, 2 unknowns. It should be the same. Thanks for listening. If you have any questions, post on the discussion. Thank you.